Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli. It is a crisp October day. I still got my shorts on and my parka because that's what Coloradoans do apparently, in addition to wearing socks with sandals. I don't do that, but that seems to be a thing we started that has spread across this incredible nation. I don't. As an Italian, I have a real issue with socks and sandals. You know, Romans didn't wear socks with their sandals. Socks probably weren't even invented yet, but anyway, I digress. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having a great fall break. I'm in the middle of it. It's Wednesday. Excuse me, it's Thursday morning. And I'm a few days late on this, but I am. I want to pay a little homage to Colin Powell. If you don't know who he is, you should. He's one of the most decorated and amazing military men in U.S. history. And talk about some. I'm gonna try to stay away from what our last president said about him, because our last president's a piece of shit, and I have no time, except the few seconds I'm going to devote right here, for a draft dodger to make disparaging remarks about former military men, including John Kane and Colin Powell. Colin Powell, excuse me. The reason I call him Colin Powell is because that's how I usually have seen that name pronounced. Jeez, I must be tired. But he actually was named Colin Powell by his parents, who emigrated from Jamaica. His dad was a British national and his mother was a Jamaican national, and they met in Jamaica, and they moved to New York, where Colin was born, and they named him Colin. He changed it to Colin, which I find interesting. Found out why it was. He named himself after, and I forgot the last name of the guy. I have another guy named Colin who was a famous World War II jet pilot or fighter pilot. So he did that early on, because he was born in 1937. So he, I think, named himself that in his college years, and changed the pronunciation of his name because he was that much into being a military person. Obviously, very successful at it. Just look, I have to get the Wikipedia right here on my laptop next to me because I can't remember it all, because it's an amazing list of accomplishments. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which is basically the highest rank in the military. Let's see what else he's got. Leading, overseeing 28 crises in his time as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, including invasion of Panama. If you don't remember, old pineapple-faced Manuel Noriega. We got, of course, the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Iraq 1990-91, and so on. And Secretary of State, of course, the first black Secretary of State. And let's see what else. So many. And for some reason, I think he also. First of all, let's talk about race a little bit, and how it probably wasn't easy, being a mixed race person, trying to make your way up in New York City. It was probably the best place of all places, but in the 40s and 50s, we were still not a very woke country as far as race. It's probably best in New York, like I said, but it was not easy for him. He also went into Vietnam. Vietnam was not easy on African Americans and probably mixed race people as well. He stepped on a punji stick. If you don't know what those are, they're pretty horrible things. He was stopped short in his first tour of Vietnam, but he did serve, and he stepped on a punji stick and injured his foot and had to come home. Punji sticks, if you don't know, I'll give you a quick description because they're pretty terrible. They're sharpened, usually wooden sticks. They can be metal if the main people who used them were the Viet Cong in Vietnam, and so they would put them in places where they knew our boys would be walking through, and very sharpened sticks would go right through your foot. And sometimes they were even like a pit that would be dug out, and they would, somehow mesh plant life over it, and you could fall into a pit and really you could die easily falling on these things. And from what I was told, this was not covered in Wikipedia, but I've been told this by a couple of Vietnam veterans, the Viet Cong like to smear fecal matter on these things, because then when you did get stabbed by one of these, the infection rate was horrific, and terrible things could happen to you due to that fecal matter being on the end of that punji stick. Now, that came to talk about Colin Powell, not so much about punji sticks, but this is something, another reason when I have an issue with draft dodgers. This guy went and he served, and maybe in a sense he got off light because he wasn't there very long and he got injured, and it wasn't a major injury, but he went and he served, and then he made a military career out of just being amazing, apparently, because you don't get to these ranks through just nepotism or by brown nosing. You can't do it. It's just not possible. The military has been often called the greatest meritocracy in the world, the U.S. military in particular, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's all about, hey, I don't care if you're black, white, man, woman. If you do your job better than the next guy, you got a better chance of moving up. I may like this guy better than you, but he doesn't do his job as well as you, so you're going to move up, not him. I'll still be friends with this guy. That's the way it seems to be. And I have no idea. I'm not a military person. I've known some amazing military people. Jennifer, thank you, love you, and keep doing what you do. And my stepbrother is in the Air Force. He's amazing. But I've also known some horrible people that were in the military, dishonorably discharged people. So I have an issue when people, sorry, I'm once again going on a tangent here, but I have an issue when people just say, oh, that guy's in the military, he's awesome. Not necessarily. I define patriotism as being a decent person, treating your fellow citizen well, and paying your taxes. That's my version of patriotism, is being a plus to this system and not a minus. That's my thing. I don't think you have to be a cop or a military person or anything like that to be a good citizen. We couldn't do it, by the way. We can't have everyone be in the military. We need people to serve burgers at McDonald's, people to teach our kids. So anyway, but yeah, this Colin Powell is an amazing man. Like I say, I just suggest you go into Wiki like I did. I tried to memorize some of this stuff, but it's like I said, the list of this man's accomplishments is so long I can barely remember any of them. He is responsible for, he didn't really coin the phrase, but he tried to further what was known as the Powell Doctrine, which is based on the Weinberger Doctrine, which Caspar Weinberger was Secretary of State, I think, during Reagan years. And of course, during Reagan's years, we were there was quite a good possibility we were going to go to nuclear war. So we had to find rules and standards for us to go into a military situation. Because back then in the 80s, if you ever watch War Games with Matthew Broderick, these little hotspots could have triggered an entire nuclear holocaust. And so the Weinberger Doctrine basically said, if we're going in there, we're going in there because it's very important, not just for oil, but it's a national security risk to us. As in, if these guys build up a military, they will be a threat to us militarily, not necessarily economically. And also said that this has to be popular, not only by a popular move, not only by the American people. And I don't think it was that they're going to have votes on it or anything, but it seemed you had to, through your representatives, in government, they said, okay, yes, this is a move we want to make. This is a war we want to involve ourselves in, and possibly put hundreds, maybe thousands of our boys into the meat grinder. If a guy's gonna go over there and die, it better be for a good reason. And it also had to be popular with the people of that country. Their representatives need to tell us, yes, we want you here. We want you to take care of this problem. Having said that, I don't know how often the Powell or the Weinberger Doctrine has been effective or even used, but I like it. I think it's a good standard for us to go into places. And I think that's why after one term as Secretary of State, where when we went into into Iraq for the second time in 2003, based on a lie, and a couple of lies actually, not only weapons of mass destruction lie, but also the lie that there was collusion with Al-Qaeda going on in Iraq during the 12 years between the first Gulf War and the second Gulf War. That wasn't happening. And so we went into a war based on lies. Boys went into the meat grinder and died. Women went into the meat grinder and died. And for what? So Halliburton's stock could go up, so we could put in a dictatorship of our own, or at least a regime of our own. And that the Powell Doctrine was totally against this. And Colin Powell, after supporting the war initially, later came out and apologized and realized, hey, I support a war that was based on a lie. I was led to believe these things were true. I was shown information that made me think they were true, and I also had a pretty war hawky president that was breathing down my neck. And so he resigned, or was fired, I'm not sure which, but after the first term as Secretary of State. And then Condoleezza Rice, first African-American black woman, or first black woman to hold office, hold the same office, Secretary of State, was the second term Secretary of State for Bush. Now, I haven't talked as much about Powell as I wanted to, but amazing man. Think about it. Think about being a mixed race kid growing up in the Bronx, foreign parents in a mixed, very melting pot city, and coming out of that and being one of the most amazing military people in the history of the country. So, hey, I salute you, Colin Powell, and thanks for your service. Thanks for an amazing life, and thanks for showing people how things are done. He's a decent man that tried to do decent things. All right, talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye.